Hello, dear students. This is the eighth session of unit number one, that is basic of software testing and testing method. Our today's topic is box approach, black box testing, part two. So, in previous session, I have already discussed what is black box testing. In this session, this is the second part of black box testing. So, in this testing, we are checking the black box testing approach. There are basically two approaches of black box testing. First one is a static black box testing, and second one is a dynamic black box testing. In static black box testing, static means what? Static means you do not able to execute an application, right? But you need to perform a black box testing. So here, static means you are reviewing the documentation, correct? So what kind of documentation you need to test under static black box testing? So you need to test a high level review of specification and low level review of specification. We'll see further what are they, what are the high level review of specification and low level review of specification. In dynamic black box testing, so dynamic term means you need to execute an application. While doing execution, you need to test application under black box. So what kind of approaches you need to apply at the time of executing an application? So first one is a boundary value analysis, and second one is a equivalence partitioning. So we also see this further. So we'll start with the static black box testing. So what is static black box testing? Testing the specification is static black box testing. The specification is a document, not an executing program. So we are just reviewing the application document, not the actually executing the application, right? So it's considered the static. It's also something that was created using data from many sources: usability studies, focus groups, marketing inputs, and so on. So you are taking data from any resources, what resources you are available. So you are collecting data from any resource. Okay. So there are basically two methods in static black box testing. The first one is a high level review of specification, and second one is a low level review of specification. In high level review of specification, you need to examine the specification for large fundamental problems, oversights, and omissions. So you need to examine the specification of overall application, not the individual module, right? So you need to think about it. You might consider this more research than testing, but ultimately the research is a mean to better understand what the software should do. So what your software is going to do, you need to survey, you need to do the survey what kind of applications are, similar kind of applications are available in a market, and where your application is going to stand, what are the pros and cons of your application, and how you can improve your application, so the public so the customer, so the popularity of your application is increase, and many customers will purchase your application. Okay. So you need to think about it. So that's why this high level review of specification is there. So what kind of things should be considered to perform high level review of specifications? We'll see. So first one is a pretend to be the customer. So while doing high level review of specification, you as a tester, you pretend to be the customer. So if you are a customer, what kind of things you are expecting from the application, you need to check that. So you need to think according to the user perspective and check that application. Second is research existing standards and guidelines. To testing an application, you need to check whether what kind of existing standards are available and what kind of guidelines are there to implement the application and to keep our application up to the mark, up to the standards, and up to the guidelines. Next is corporate terminology and conventions. So you need to follow the corporate terminology and conventions also. You need to follow the follow the industry guidelines, and also you need to fulfill the industry requirements. You need to follow the government standards. You need to test the graphical user interface, that is GUI, for your application. You need to check the security standard of your application, and also you need to review or you need to test the similar software which is available in market. So you need to check the similar kind of application of yours. You will get an idea what kind of functionalities or what kind of discrepancies are currently discrepancies are there in a current or we can say the current available application in a market. So you can overcome it in your application version, so it will give you a benefit and it will definitely fulfill your business requirement too and customer requirement too. Next is low level review of specification. In low level review of specification, you need to think about the only the individual module, or we can say the only the individual piece of code. After the complete of high level review of product specification, you will have a better understanding of what your product is and what external influences affect its design. Armed with this information, means according to this information you can move on to testing the specification at the lower level. Means you are checking, means you are having a bulk of data and you are testing, so you are getting overall idea what kind of application you need to build, okay, or you need to place in a market, or you need to launch in a market. So you will test your application according to the that perspective. So you will check your application according to the high level review of specification. So you will take care of that your application specifications are complete, your specifications are accurate, that are precise, unambiguous, means there is no repeatability, and that specifications are cleared, they are consistent, means a user will not going to change their specification after your system specification or product specification is process is done. Your specifications are relevant, all functionalities which customer wants, that must be covered by your specification. The application must be feasible. It will be code free, it will be code free, means application is not code free, the specification is code free, and that specification must say that your application must be testable. So you can test your application very easily. Your specification must be clear, and according to that specification you can test your application, okay. So next is dynamic black box testing. This is the second approach of black box testing. In this approach, you need to execute an application and you need to perform the black box testing. So testing the software without having an insight into the details of underlying code is dynamic black box testing. It's dynamic because the program is running, you are running it as a customer would, and it's black box because you are testing it without knowing exactly how it works with blinders on. Means you are testing an application without having any knowledge. You are just checking the GUI and passing the input and just checking the output of that application. You don't have any background knowledge or we can say any knowledge of programming, any knowledge of designing, any knowledge of application logic, or we can say any knowledge of background details, and any knowledge of database. So you are just checking the application through GUI. Okay, so there are two techniques, there are more techniques, but in your syllabus there are only two techniques to perform dynamic black box testing. First one is a equivalence partitioning, and second one is a boundary value analysis. Equivalence partitioning technique is only used when your test input data is large. If suppose you want to test an application, but your testing inputs are more, so it is difficult to test an application by passing such a large amount of test inputs. So you need to partition them according to their category, or we can say according to their class. That's why it is called as equivalence partitioning. We will make a group of that particular input which are having a similar property, so we can check that particular means we will collect in any combination of test input and apply it on a application. Will check the result, and if the result is satisfied, so there is an assumption behind it that all the combinations of that particular group or that particular class is fulfilling the requirement of that particular application. So that's why we do not need to check all possible combinations. You just need to pick any combination from your particular class. So we'll see the example afterwards. So we'll just go through it. What is equivalence partitioning? Equivalence partitioning or equivalence class partitioning is a software testing technique that divide the input data of a software unit into the partitions of equivalent data from which the test cases can be derived. In principle, the test cases are designed to cover each partition at least once. So you need to cover each partition at least once. You need to test every partition. Okay, this techniques tries to define test cases that uncover classes of errors, thereby reducing the total number of test cases that must be developed. So it will help us to reduce the total number of test cases by making the class of by making the class after partitioning. An advantage of this approach is reduction in the time required for testing software due to lesser number of testing software due to lesser number of test cases. So how to perform equivalence partitioning? Suppose if you want to check the age field and you need to accept the value from 18 to 60. So if you are suppose the possible values are means 1 to means I am taking the set that there are possible values of that particular field are 1 to 100. Okay, but we need to accept only the range between 18 to 60. So if we are passing individual number like 1 2 3, so it will take a lot of time to check that particular field. So you are having 100 numbers, so it is difficult to apply each and every number at a particular time and test a same field, and it will iterate and it will test each and individual input. So it will consume a lot of time. So that's why we'll divide our test input into the specific category, or we can say equivalence class. So our valid input is 18 to 60, so we'll make a class of 18 to 60. It is a valid class, and I am making a invalid class. So there are two invalid classes, which is below or equal to 17 is another class, and above or equal to 61 it is another class. So we will take a single input from each and every class, because we need to cover all the classes. So I am taking in first class I am taking the input 14. I am entering 14 into the age field, and I am checking that what kind of results or what kind of outcome it will produce. So it does not accept that value. So you just need to pass it, and you just see what kind of outcome it shows. Then I am taking the input 19, and it will accept the value. So our second category or second class of valid uh, input is checked. So I am passing the next input is 66. So it is not a valid input, so it will gives an error. So our all classes are checked, so there is no need to check each and every individual number by passing it to the age field. You can just pick any one valid input from the class and pass it to the field and just check your result. So your overall coverage of that particular number of test cases are successfully complete. So by using only three cases, or by using only three test cases, we can check the overall number of test inputs. So this technique is very efficient, that's why it's called as equivalence partitioning. Next is boundary value analysis. After the equivalence partitioning, there is one more important technique is boundary value analysis. Here you are checking the boundary conditions of particular application. So what is boundary conditions? The boundary value analysis technique is used to identify the error at boundaries rather than the finding those that exist in the center of the input domain. The boundary value analysis is the next part of the equivalence partitioning for designing test cases, where the test cases are selected at the edges of the equivalence class. So I am taking the same example. So we just need to check the age field. So here my condition is that it will accept only value between the 18 to 56. So the boundary of that particular field is 18. The minimum boundary of that particular field is 18, and maximum boundary of that particular field is 56. So the value within the 18 to 56 are valid set, and value above the 56 and value below the 18 are invalid set. So the boundary of my valid set is minimum boundary is 18. So minimum minus 1 is an invalid boundary. Means if I am entering 17, so it is invalid. Or if I am checking the maximum boundary, so maximum boundary condition is 56, so maximum plus 1 is an invalid input, that is 57. So if I am input just passing the input 17, so it must give an error. If I am passing the above boundary input, so if I am passing the 57, it also gives an error. If I am passing the boundary inputs like 18 or 56, so it will accept that value. Like this we need to check all the fields by using boundary value analysis. The fields are having means in application there are fields like you need to check their username. So what should be the boundary conditions, or we can say what should be the boundary specification of that. So you can check that the application is in a lower case, or application should be in a upper case. You can check their ASCII number, so according to it you can check their boundaries. We'll see the boundary condition boundary actual experiment in our practical session. So this is enough for today. Thank you.